Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be how women should earn exclusivity and loyalty in relationships. So I've got an email. This particular guy says he's been following my work for the last few years. And he said about a year and a half ago, he met a really beautiful girl back in his home country of Spain. And so they started dating casually. She's really starting to fall for him. But in a matter of months, he's getting ready to move abroad and study. And he doesn't know when he'll be back. And so he told her he wasn't interested in being exclusive. He still wanted to date other girls, but she fell in love. She said she only wanted to see him and date him. And obviously, since then, she's tried to continually get him to commit to her. But what I like about this email is that he's very honest and he's upfront about what he wants and he's congruent with that. And this is the way men should be, even when, like in this particular case, he's dating a woman who wants him all to herself, but he's like, hey, I'm moving and we can continue to see each other, but I want to date other girls. Plus, he's a young guy anyways. And so she tells him that she's going to basically be exclusive to him, and she's trying to convince him that why he should be exclusive with her. And then she calls him one time crying, saying, the other night I kissed another guy. And then he's like, hey, we're not exclusive. We're just kind of casually dating. And then after that, she falls even more in love with him. And so during the Christmas holidays, they were spending time together. And then he finds out before he had gotten back to Spain that she had kissed somebody else. And so now he's like, this girl's trying to get me to be exclusive to her and loyal to her, even though I've told her up front that I'm going to date other girls, and yet she's out kissing other guys. And he's thinking, like, what do I do? Do I just kick her to the curb? She belongs in the streets? Should I just continue casually seeing her? So that's his conundrum. So let's go through his email. He says, hello, Coach. First of all, I really appreciate all your work. I've been a follower for the last few years. About a year and a half ago, I met a beautiful girl back in my home country of Spain. We started hanging out, having fun, and hooking up. And then one day, she told me she wanted me to stop seeing other girls and wanted to get all serious with me. So as I talk about in the book, what is happening here, at least on her part, is the way women are. If you create the conditions where from the beginning the woman is always pursuing you and chasing you, doing most of the calling, texting, pursuing, and you're making dates, hanging out, having fun, and hooking up, typically week 6 or 7, she's going to be in love and she's going to start bringing up exclusivity. And so this is typical of what you're going to expect to see. But what it does, the good thing is it puts the man in the position of, I mean, if you look at the old movies, the black and white movies from the 40s, 50s, and even some of the movies in the 60s, that's what was always going on in the movies. And women were always trying to lock down the most eligible bachelor, the best guy in town that they could get for themselves, which is natural because women are naturally designed to seek a man's attention and ultimately exclusivity so they can nest and have babies and a family and the white picket fence and all that stuff and live happily ever after. But when you look at current media, current movies, current TV, what do you see? You see the exact opposite. You see men begging for women's attention and validation and begging them for a relationship and basically acting like stalkers, but in the movies and the TV shows that you see, that works. They get the girl. You do that in real life, you get a restraining order against you. So what you got the media teaching us a dysfunctional way of living and being in our relationships and emotionally anchoring us to these dysfunctional and unnatural behaviors. And so this guy he's taken a look at his life. He's not really, because us guys, we tend to want to be in exclusive long-term relationships when we're stable. When we're living in an area for a good period of time, we have a stable house, stable social circle, stable group of friends, stable job. That's typically when we're open to nesting, if you will, and having a family, being in an exclusive relationship. If you're moving around a lot and maybe you're a traveling salesman and you're in a different city every few months, in those conditions, guys are more naturally going to gravitate towards casual type of relationships. And so this particular guy meets this great girl, or at least she seems great, and yet he knows he's leaving the country to study abroad, and he doesn't even know if he's coming back. And so he's not wanting to settle down or be exclusive because, quite frankly, his life conditions are not conducive to that. So back to our email here. He says, at that moment in time, I didn't want anything serious, so I told her that I would continue seeing other girls, but that she was for sure my favorite one. And he puts a little wink emoji in there, which is great. I mean, he's being honest. He's being totally upfront with her about that. Now, when you live this way, you also have to understand the downside risk is that if she's really wanting somebody exclusive and that is her value system, you're going to lose girls that are going to say, hey, I'm not down with that. I don't want to date long distance, or if you don't want to be exclusive, then I want to date other people, or I'm going to move on. And that's fine. The important thing is, as a man, you're honest, you're upfront, and you're congruent with your truth. And women can either accept it or say thanks, but no thanks. And so in this case, he was totally upfront with what he wanted. So he says she ended up accepting it, and we continued dating for a few months. As I started getting to know her, she fell deeply in love, and I stopped seeing other girls. The problem is the following. At the end of last summer, I had to leave Spain to go study abroad, so I would not be able to see her anymore. We spent most of the summer together, and even though we were not official, I met her family. She was deeply in love, and she told me that she didn't want to be with anyone else and that she was going to really miss me. And so part of the vetting process, and like, again, what you see from the older movies, is that the guys are like, I don't want to settle down. I'm not in that place in my life. Especially like if you ever seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life. That's like George Bailey's like, I'm getting out of Bedford Falls. I don't want to live in this town. I'm going to see the world. I'm going to go live somewhere else. I just want to get out of here. Last thing I want to do is settle down with this cute girl Mary that's always had a crush on me since we were little kids and get married and live in this town that I'm trying to get the hell away from. And over the course of the movie and the love story, that's what happens. She wears him down, and he can't help but love her back. But she had made her mind up that she wanted to make things so good that George Bailey would stay in Bedford Falls and they'd live happily ever after, which they ended up doing. And so part of the vetting process here is she's like, hey, I want you all to myself, and I only want to be with you. So he's been honest about it. It's like saying, hey, I'm just not in a place where I can be exclusive with anybody, and that's not what I want right now. And if you want to continue seeing me, that'd be great. And if not, that's great too. And she told him, I only want to see you. I'm going to commit to you only. And on some level, she's basically saying, I'm going to prove that I'm going to be a loyal and faithful girl to you. And hopefully, eventually, you won't want anybody else. And it was starting to move in that direction because, like he said, he stopped seeing other women. He never agreed to be exclusive or official or anything. But what ends up happening? Because you're trying to see, does she keep her word? This is the most important thing. And this is a big thing like the dudes in the red pill community just go berserk over. I mean, they like to just paint a broad brush of women in society in general, when in reality, all you're trying to find out is, does she have integrity? Is this girl honest? Does she keep her word? Does she say what she means and means what she says? And the reality is most people in this world don't. And so that's part of the vetting process. And a lot of these guys got involved with women that belong to the streets. They're trying to wife up a hoe, and then they got burned. And then they say, oh, well, all women are like this. Because if all women are like that, then, hey, it's not my fault that I got dicked over. And that's part of the problem, is these guys don't want to take personal responsibility for where they're at. As Don Shula said, strong men blame themselves, weak men blame others. If you're blaming other people, then, hey, it's not your fault. You can't do anything about it. You're helpless to change and shape your destiny. But if you say, well, everything in my life is there because I either chose it or I attracted it because of the vibe that I'm putting out there, and I allowed it, I tolerated it, I invited it. So what do I need to change in my life so I repel these kinds of people or circumstances in the future? The red pill guys are like, oh, it's modern women. That's the problem. Instead of looking at themselves as like, what are they doing to attract those kind of people into their life? That's what a man does. A man looks at a situation, says, well, whatever it was, I attracted this person in my life for some reason. Why is that? What do I need to change about my vibe, my energy, the people that I'm associating with, the energy I'm putting into the world, so this thing doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen very often anymore? So again, part of the vetting process is you're trying to find out, does this girl keep her word? Can I trust what she's saying? That's the real issue here with her. He's been honest and upfront. She's communicating, hey, I'm going to be exclusive to you. Hopefully you'll want to be exclusive to me at some point. So he says, we spent most of the summer together, and even though we were not official, I met her family. She was deeply in love, and she told me that she didn't want to be with anyone else, and that she was going to really miss me. I then left to pursue my studies, even though we were not official. We continued talking, and we were planning on seeing each other. So again, he's in the vetting process. Remember this. He doesn't want to be exclusive. His life's not conducive to it. But over time, you could see how a woman like this, if she's actually keeps her word and honors the promises that she makes to him, then just like George Bailey, she may wear him down and he'll go, you make things so good for me that I really don't want anybody else. So he says, one day she called me on the phone crying and told me she had kissed another guy, but that she didn't really want to. He says, come on, man, in parentheses. He says, I honestly didn't care at that point since I thought we wouldn't see each other anymore. Why bother? He was like, eh. He says, the thing is, a few weeks later, we continued talking, and she got on the plane and came to visit me. So she's trying to convince him, hey, be only with me, after she'd already said, hey, I only want to be with you, but yet now she's kissing some other guy. So right there, it's like she's not keeping her word. It's nice that she was forthcoming and admitted this, but at the end of the day, she didn't keep her word to him. He kept his word to her, which was, hey, I'm not going to be exclusive with anybody. He was honest and he was upfront about that. What she told him turned out to not be true. He says, everything was really good for the following months. We saw each other a couple of times, and we even went on a trip to Paris together. We'll always have Paris. I then went back to Spain on Christmas holidays and spent all Christmas with her. And she told me that she only wanted to be with me, that she was in love, and that she didn't care about distance. The thing is, later, I found out that she made out with another guy at a party a few months earlier. So now this is twice. Twice where she says, hey, I only want to be with you. And yet there's two other dudes that she's been kissing. So what does that tell us about her character? Her words don't mean anything. She's not the type of person who will say something and mean what she says. And this is part of the vetting process. This is a red flag. This is somebody that doesn't say what they mean and doesn't mean what they say. In other words, they're not honest. Love cannot exist where there is no trust. And if you're a girl dating a guy whose life is not conducive to being in a relationship, and you want to go out of your way to prove to him that he really should only be with you because you're so awesome, and then you go and you kiss two other dudes, it's like, what's he supposed to expect? This girl's not believable. So, as Gerald Celente from the Trends Research Institute says, current events form future trends. And so if 2 occasions now she's told him, or on multiple occasions, hey, I'm going to commit to you, but yet he finds out with 2 different guys, 2 different occasions, she kissed them, even though she's trying to prove that she's his best choice, what do you have to assume? You have to assume she's a liar. And if they were in a relationship, that would have been cheating. So she doesn't keep her word. It's as simple as that. You can't tell me, oh, I only want to see you, and then go kiss other guys. And who knows? Maybe she slept with these guys. We don't really know. All we know is that she didn't keep her word. And if she doesn't keep her word, that's not the kind of woman that you want raising your children. So he says, now at this point, I'm like, what the F? I want to say the F word, but I just think of the monetization issues. It really sucks. He says, my problem is, if we were officially together and monogamous, she would get the gift of missing me forever, as I don't permit any type of infidelity. Well, you know what? On some level, your spidey sense was telling you from the beginning not to be exclusive with this girl. And now you have to look at it and go, well, now I see why I didn't want to be exclusive with her. He says, as we were not officially together and she was extremely apologetic about the two guys, I have my doubts about what to do. Well, she's a friends with benefits, a fuck buddy. Well, I dropped the F-bomb. So, sex playmate, but this is not wife material. This is not somebody you're going to make exclusive with because she doesn't keep her commitments. So, therefore, she supposedly has been trying to earn her a commitment with you, and yet she violates the commitment that she made to you. So, therefore, no, we can be friends with benefits. We can hook up with them in town. Definitely, I would recommend you wear a raincoat. He says, should I send her to the streets? Well, I think you should just be congruent with the type of relationship that you told her and just say, hey, we can hang out and date, but I'm never going to be exclusive with you because you don't keep your word. But we can still hook up. The sex is good. I love hanging out. Yeah, I'll still come over and hang out with your family, but I'm not going to be your husband. I'm not going to be your boyfriend. It's just not going to happen. That's not in the cards. Your word doesn't mean anything. I can't trust you. And love cannot exist where there is no trust. And you did it to yourself, so hey, date other guys, do what you want because I'm not going to commit to you ever just because of, I can't trust you. But we can have a lot of fun together when we do see each other. He says, or should I stop worrying since we were not together and continue dating this girl, even making her my girlfriend? You absolutely do not make her your girlfriend because she's not loyal. Simple as that. It would have been a different story if you both were, hey, we're just casually dating. You can see other people and she can see other people. But that wasn't the agreement. The agreement was what she told you was that, hey, I'm only going to date you. I'm not dating anybody else. But yet she's kissed another guy. So what does that mean? She's open to meeting somebody else, even though she told you otherwise. So you got to see reality as it is. Not better than it is or worse than it is. And seeing it better than it is would be considering her for your girlfriend. But seeing it as it is, you understand that she's a friends with benefits, sex playmate, fuck buddy. That's it. Simple as that. Black and white. There's no middle of the road there with her. And it's obvious that, like most guys, what we want is loyalty and exclusivity if we're committing to that. And she said she was committing to that, but she didn't keep up her end of the bargain. So therefore, anything she says about being exclusive, it won't happen again. It's like, doesn't matter. When Maya Angelou said, when somebody tells you or shows you who they are, believe them the first time. So she gave you 2 instances where she doesn't keep her word. So therefore, you have to assume she's a bullshit artist and she's a liar and she's devious. And if you ever did become exclusive or become married, there's a good chance when you're not around, she'll go screw around with some other guy. Because that's what she's done when you weren't there anyways. Even though you weren't exclusive. She said she was going to be exclusive, but she wasn't. This is a simple way to look at things in life. So if you got a question or a challenge and you'd like to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.